Hi everyone, it's me, Lubna. Today is Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. This video is dedicated to my beloved, and the topic of this video is going to be about the Oversoul, which is one of the essays by Ralph Waldo Emerson. So today I wanted to share a portion of the Oversoul that was included in The Science of Being Great by Wallace D. Wattles, which is one of the books included within this collection, The Science of Success, which includes The Science of Getting Rich, The Science of Being Well, and The Science of Being Great, all books by Wallace D. Wattles. So again, I wanted to share a portion of the Oversoul that was included at the very end of The Science of Being Great. So I'm going to go ahead and read that aloud to you now. Here it goes. What is the universal sense of want and ignorance, but the fine innuendo by which the great soul makes its enormous claim? Why do men feel that the natural history of man has never been written, but always he is leaving behind what you have said of him, and it becomes old and books of metaphysics worthless? The philosophy of 6,000 years has not searched the chambers and magazines of the soul. In its experiments, there has always remained, in the last analysis, a residuum it could not resolve. Man is a stream whose source is hidden. Always our being is descending into us from we know not whence. The most exact calculator has no prescience that somewhat incalculable may not balk the very next moment. I am constrained every moment to acknowledge a higher origin for events than the will I call mine. As with events, so it is with thoughts. When I watch that flowing river, which, out of regions I see not, pours for a season its streams into me, I see that I am a pensioner, not a cause but a surprised spectator of this ethereal water, that I desire and look up, and put myself in the attitude for reception, but from some alien energy the visions come. The supreme critic on all the errors of the past and present, and the only prophet of that which must be, is that great nature in which we rest, as the earth lies in the soft arms of the atmosphere, that unity, that oversoul, with which every man's particular being is contained and made one with all other. That common heart, of which all sincere conversation is the worship, to which all right action is submission. That overpowering reality which confutes our tricks and talents, and constrains every one to pass for what he is, and to speak from his character and not from his tongue, and which evermore tends and aims to pass into our thought and hand, and become wisdom and virtue and power and beauty. We live in succession, in division, in parts, in particles. Meantime within man is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty, to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one. And this deep power in which we exist, and whose beatitude is all accessible to us, is not only self-sufficing and perfect in every hour, but the act of seeing and the thing seen, the seer and the spectacle, the subject and the object are one. We see the world piece by piece, as the sun, the moon, the animal, the tree, but the whole, of which these are the shining parts, is the soul. It is only by the vision of that wisdom that the horoscope of the ages can be read, and it is only by falling back on our better thoughts, by yielding to the spirit of prophecy, which is innate in every man, that we know what it said. Every man's words who speaks from that life must sound vain to those who do not dwell in the same thought on their own part. I dare not speak for it. My words do not carry its august sense. They fall short and cold. Only itself can inspire whom it will, and behold, their speech shall be lyrical and sweet, and universal as the rising of the wind. Yet I desire, even by profane words, if sacred I may not use, to indicate the heaven of this deity, and to report what hints I have collected of the transcendent simplicity and energy of the highest law. If we consider what happens in conversation, in reveries, in remorse, in times of passion, in surprises, in the instruction of dreams, wherein often we see ourselves in masquerade, the droll disguises only magnifying and enhancing a real element, and forcing it on our distinct notice, we shall catch many hints that will broaden and lighten into knowledge of the secret of nature. All goes to show that the soul in man is not an organ, but animates and exercises all the organs, is not a function like the power of memory, of calculation, of comparison, but uses these as hands and feet, is not a faculty but a light, is not the intellect or the will, but the master of the intellect and the will, is the vast background of our being in which they lie, an immensity not possessed and that cannot be possessed. From within or from behind, a light shines through us upon things and makes us aware that we are nothing, but the light is all. A man is the facade of a temple wherein all wisdom and all good abide. What we commonly call man, the eating, drinking, planting, counting man, does not, as we know him, represent himself, but misrepresents himself. Him we do not respect, but the soul whose organ he is, would he let it appear through his action, would make our knees bend. When it breathes through his intellect, it is genius. When it flows through his affection, it is love. After its own law and not by arithmetic is the rate of its progress to be computed. The soul's advances are not made by gradation, such as can be represented by motion in a straight line, but rather by ascension of state, such as can be represented by metamorphosis, from the egg to the worm, from the worm to the fly. The growths of genius are of a certain total character that does not advance the elect individual first over John, then Adam, then Richard, and give to each the pain of discovered inferiority, but by every throe of growth the man expands there where he works, passing, at each pulsation, classes, populations of men. With each divine impulse, the mind rends the thin rinds of the visible and finite, and comes out into eternity, and inspires and expires its air. It converses with truths that have always been spoken in the world, and becomes conscious of a closer sympathy with Zeno and Arian than with persons in the house. This is the law of moral and of mental gain. The simple rise as by specific levity, not into a particular virtue, but into the region of all the virtues. They are in the spirit which contains them all. The soul is superior to all the particulars of merit. The soul requires purity, but purity is not it. Requires justice, but justice is not that. Requires beneficence, but is somewhat better. So that there is a kind of dissent and accommodation felt when we leave speaking of moral nature to urge a virtue which it enjoins. For to the soul in her pure action, all the virtues are natural and not painfully acquired. Speak to his heart, and the man becomes suddenly virtuous. Within the same sentiment is the germ of intellectual growth, which obeys the same law. Those who are capable of humility, of justice, of love, of aspiration, are already on a platform that commands the sciences and arts, speech and poetry, action and grace. For whoso dwells in this moral beatitude does already anticipate those special powers which men prize so highly, just as love does justice to all the gifts of the object beloved. The lover has no talent, no skill, which passes for quite nothing with his enamored maiden, however little she may possess of related faculty. And the heart that abandons itself to the supreme mind finds itself related to all its works, and will travel a royal road to particular knowledge and powers. For, in ascending to this primary and aboriginal sentiment, we have come from our remote station on the circumference, instantaneously to the center of the world, where, as in the closet of God, we see causes and anticipate the universe, which is but a slow effect. So that is all of the oversoul that was included in this book. And I know that it might be kind of difficult to understand unless you closely read it and analyze every line and every word. But I've listened to the audiobook version of that so many times, and every time I listen to it, I learn something new and I gain something new from it. And the words are just so beautiful to me. And even if you don't understand them right away, you can listen to them and feel something within your soul. And the gist of that portion of the Oversoul is that there is a universal intelligence that is present within all people and all of nature. And we sometimes sense this universal intelligence in rare moments when we experience or do something great and beautiful. And this is the time when we feel the most alive, whenever we experience unity with this universal intelligence. So I know that this video is already pretty long because I shared that very long portion from The Oversoul by Ralph Waldo Emerson. But I just wanted to encourage you by sharing all of that to seek out experiences and events and even perform actions that put you into unity with that universal intelligence, or in other words, with God. And when you experience that, you feel the most alive and you feel like you are in flow with the rest of the world and with the rest of the universe. And it is such a beautiful feeling, and I feel that way often. I try to seek out experiences and meditate upon that feeling and try to grasp that feeling as much as I can. And obviously it's very hard to achieve that kind of a state of being permanently, but it is possible, and it has been shown throughout history by various enlightened individuals. So that is basically the goal, in my opinion, of life, is to achieve unity with the universal intelligence. And I hope that you learned something from watching my video today, and I hope that you relished my reading of the portion of The Oversoul by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And with that, I'd like to wish you a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, or whatever it is, wherever you are in the world.